Hello, humanity. You are created by God and loved by your Creator. Let's get right into it. Hi, my name is Deborah-Naomi Thomas, and this is my very first video blog entry. So, why am I here? Um, for me, I am here to capture my life in a format that's very different than what I'm accustomed to. I'm generally a really big one for taking pictures, which I love, short videos, which are great, and then I will write, and I enjoy writing. I'll journal, and it's consistent, even though it's not every day. And what I chose to do in creating a video blog is, again, capturing content that I want to read about, write about, or speak about at a later date. And capturing all of my facial expression, tone of voice, everything about my communication in a format that lets me come back and really appreciate it later and maybe help it tell my story. The other reason that I'm here and I chose this format is for you. Um, I would have to say that being a contribution to others, being of service, is probably something that I get so much joy out of. It just doesn't work for me to not share myself with other people. That being said, you should know that I am a hardcore introvert. I enjoy the company of few, but I love to share myself as much as possible. And so I tend to be a one-on-one kind of friend. So this format fits me in the sense that I kind of feel like I'm sitting down to talk to someone, even though there is no one on the other side of this camera. And I am sitting in a room by myself with lots of lights and a background to help communicate this journey. And quite honestly, when I go back to read this, I want something pleasant to look at. So I hope my backdrop is not too busy for you because I will be using it. It may change up, but I'm going to guess not all that frequently. Ultimately, if I could say, the reason I'm here is to be a contribution both to myself and to others by showing up authentically, being vulnerable and transparent, and sharing my journey. That's why I'm here. So let's jump right in and talk about life. So this past weekend was awesome. Yes, I'm going to talk with my hands because I do that. So whenever I can get them on the camera, I will. Um, part of my journey that I want to share with you are the events of this weekend. First of all, a lot of things are going on right now. I think the three things I really want to talk about right now are the Solemn Assembly, my own takeaways while I'm in the Solemn Assembly. We'll talk about that a little bit. The impact it's had on my family, the Solemn Assembly I'm referring to, and then the big family gathering that just recently happened this weekend. So, where to start? I think I'll start a little bit by talking about the family gathering. So, January is a big to-do month. There are several birthdays that happen, but even more so, there's one very important birthday, and that is my father. My dad is 77 years old this month. So this past weekend was a beautiful celebration of just who my dad is, the gift and contribution that he's been to me, how he's made a difference. And so I took some time to write a letter to my dad, and I will be gifting it to him. He hasn't received it yet because his gifts are coming in pieces, and I think I'm going to pair the letter with a couple of his favorite things that I'm still waiting to see come in the mail. But more than that, it being my dad's birthday, is that my dad chose to get married on his birthday, which means it's my mom and my dad's wedding anniversary. So this year, my parents celebrated 50 years of marriage to each other consecutively. No pauses, no stops, no interruptions. This is a big deal. And I'm celebrating it because for myself, as a kid with lots of siblings, I'm one of six. I don't know, there's nothing like it. I personally for myself feel like a spoiled brat. Like I couldn't help myself as my eyes kept welling up with tears, recognizing that my mom and dad have done something that is not done by everyone. And it's not as common as maybe it used to be. I think most people now, when they think of people who are married for 50 years are probably thinking of, for depending on your age, grandparents or even great grandparents. And when I think about that, I just realized that I've received a tremendous gift. I mean, this January was better than all of the holidays put together, which, by the way, I canceled all the holidays for myself this past year. We'll talk about that more later. It'll be in the video blog at some point. But it made being together with my family so worthwhile. It made, I mean, if there could be a cherry on top of family holiday season, being together, loving and enjoying one another, this was truly that day. I had my brother come in from out of town, my older brother, my younger brother, who's generally, I would say he's not around that often. He keeps a pretty steady pace and rhythm to life that has him not be around as often. He made it a point to be here, which is really great. I have my niece who lives out of state who flew in town, and no joke, she flew in town like the night before, was with family all day. Then I took her to the airport the next morning, and we had a really great conversation on the way to the airport. I love my niece. One of the most important things to me after my faith is my family. So let's talk about faith a little bit and my mom and dad, since we're on this 50 years of marriage. For me, probably the legacy I take away from my parents being married for 50 years is their faith. Mom and dad have spent years loving on people. I mean, when I say loving on people, that is what my parents do best. My mom is a hugger, which is so opposite of me. I am not a hugger, not like that. I mean, my mom's view of a stranger is a friend that she hasn't met yet. I, on the other hand, my view of a stranger is I don't know you. So you really are a stranger. Okay, so anyway, my mom will hug people and love on people. And literally at church, there are people who know her for her hugs. So they greet her and they're coming in for a hug. And mom is all too excited to give a hug. So that's mom. That's how she loves and serves people. My dad, he's a really quiet, reserved, laid back kind of guy. And the heritage and faith that I feel like I've gotten from my mom and dad comes from my dad's side of the family. And I've inherited that from my grandparents. And I'm so thankful for it. My dad's a Detroiter originally. Mom is from Baltimore, Maryland. So she is not a Detroiter. But my dad, who is a military man, yes, he served in the Army. Met my mom in Baltimore where he was stationed. Several turn of events. I promise you I'll get mom and dad on here sometime, but this will mostly be about me and loving their anniversary. So dad met mom in Baltimore and then settled here in Detroit. And that's where they've been ever since. So it's been a really beautiful, beautiful experience. Just watching my mom and dad love on people. That's what I was talking about. So since they're settled here, they worked with Campus Crusade for Christ for several years. I think they go by Crew now. And mom and dad spent their time investing in men and women who were married to each other, struggling in their marriage, challenged in their journey. And mom and dad just encouraged them to stick with it. I mean, I remember even going to some marriage conferences that mom and dad went to, even as I, as a single woman, am looking to be married and have my own family. I remembered watching mom and dad share with others and then share back with us as kids the importance of who we are right now in our singleness, in our relationships and friendships really is still preparation for what we will be like in relationship. Now, since we're on relationship, about mine a little bit, it has been an up and down journey. Effective 2020, I just stopped dating. And I'll share more about that. And then I took on this unique adventure of wearing a ring on my ring finger, of course, but doing that as a symbol of my love and commitment inside of my faith and what God's called me to, who he's called me to be, how I'm called to interact and operate in relationship with others until he gives me a significant other. And I'm hoping that sooner than later, but for the time being, loving my singleness. It is so simple right now. It is so simple. Difficult, yes. Challenging, yes. Hard, many times, yes, but simple and just loving the goodness of God in my life. So that's where I'm at. So I watched mom and dad minister and love on other people. So when my sister and I were pulling together the announcements to let friends and family know, hey, mom and dad are celebrating 50 years of marriage. Please just reach out in honor of them and contribution to them. Share back, whatever love, joy, well wishes that you have to share. And as the cards began to roll in, and they're still coming in, the text messages, the emails, I've watched my mom and dad just enjoy the goodness of God and his faithfulness to them over the course of 50 years. God, may it be so with me. May I have a legacy like my parents. If the God of my father was faithful to me, I would love to relish and swim in the goodness of God in my season of relationship and marriage when it comes. So it's been beautiful. I know that right now during COVID-19, since 2020, many of you who may be on the other side of this video watching have lost loved ones, have had relationships either come to an end, or friends or family who saw a loved one go sooner than you felt like it should be. And maybe you didn't think God was so good in the fact that that season and that journey came to an end all too soon. I really want to encourage you that there is a God who knows you. He loves you, and he knows your hurt, and he knows the suffering, and he knows the grief, and it's not lost on him. So I encourage you, I implore you to share that, say that to him, maybe write it out, or even have a good cry. But I do encourage you to just be honest with yourself, and for whatever there is in what you're feeling or what you want to express, maybe call a friend and have an honest conversation. For me, it is a season where I am thankful that despite my parents having COVID in the last 4 weeks, I came home December 17th, kind of came down with something that felt awful by December 21st. I was miserable. I was coming out of it by December 27th, and my parents were ill. Something you should know, I moved home with my parents to finish my degree, and I'm so glad that I did come home, because I've had the opportunity to be here to love on and serve my mom and dad during the season of their being ill and watching them in their recovery. And it's not the first time. My current occupation is that I serve as a caregiver, and I have done some of the hardest work in the last 4 weeks that I have not been paid for. And I wouldn't trade it, because the opportunity to serve my mom and dad leading up to this milestone in their life, of in this season of being married together, and still loving each other and loving God and loving people, is something I would not trade for the world. And I have to say, it is well worth the fact that I rearranged my room at least 6 times. I've rearranged the lighting, which I'm pretty sure still isn't right for this. I'll be working on my setup a little bit, just to come and to share this and to capture it. I'm definitely surprised that I didn't cry, because I weep. I'm a very emotional person, very emotional. And I just can't say enough. So that pretty much wraps up this blog entry. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If there was anything of value that I shared with you today, feel free to leave comments. Feel free to share with me whatever there is you would like to say. I'd love to read it. And then I want to leave you with a blessing, that as you begin this new year, as you begin whatever new journey or new season, or maybe you're in a really old one and it's still dragging on, or maybe it's going at a pretty good pace and you're content. Wherever you're at, I just want to leave you with the fact that there is a God who sees you, who knows you, who loves you, and is committed to you winning in life. So as I leave this very first blog post, I just want you to know, be encouraged. You don't walk alone. You are not by yourself. There are people out here who see you. And I personally want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Peace.